So I've got, 200 plus slides I can go through, or we can do an Ask Me Anything, where we get really deep into your social media. I can audit your content, we can audit together. What would you rather do? Watch me throw some slides up, or do you guys want to just get into some questions? Now's your time to ask. Let's do it. All right. Let's do, listen, all my audits will be done with love and encouragement. None of them will be scary. How many of you are using social media on a regular basis? Yeah, how many of you are on Instagram? How many of you are on TikTok? Okay, how many of you are doing videos every day? Face the camera every day?
Every day.
Okay. How many of you used Zoom in the last 2 years? Okay. How many of you in the last 2 years celebrated a birthday, a family member, some holiday, a happy hour on Zoom, right? So I want to give you a little bit about my background, and I like these smaller groups because we can get really intimate and really deep into the content. I don't usually get to do that when I'm on stage with 5,000 or 6,000 people, so this is pretty awesome. My background is I was in real estate. I was a real estate agent. I was licensed for 18 years. I kind of always start off a joke saying I got my license in 2001 BF. The BF stands for before Facebook. So I had a whole career before social media existed. I did not grow up with the Internet of Things. I am not like my son who can navigate things and understand that I had never even seen before. So I know what it's like to be out there marketing ourselves. And I know that there's all these limiting beliefs around creating content with us in it, right? How many of you love being on video? You're just like, I can't wait to get out of bed and be on video today. This is going to be amazing, right? I have spent the last, somebody can do the math, the last 7 years, every single day, the last 7 years straight, I have spent on camera. And it absolutely has impacted my business and my brand for the obvious reasons, but what truly happened, and I had no idea was going to happen, was we had this thing called the pandemic, right? None of us saw that coming. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I wrote a book called Talking in Pictures. And the idea behind the book was that cameras, these guys, in combination specifically with social media, like Instagram stories, and this is before TikTok was out, but you get it, that it was changing how we were looking at relationships. Like we were actually kind of like meeting strangers on the internet and becoming friends. And not only were we becoming friends, we were like watching and talking to them daily. And like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years would go by, and then I would meet somebody at a conference. They're like, "Oh my God, I feel like I have been watching you for 4 years. How's your kiddo? How's your new house? Have you remodeled yet?" And I was like, this is weird, right? So I started doing a whole bunch of research because my background's in clinical psychology. I was going to be a therapist, but I'm super sensitive and empathic, and I'm like, that's probably not going to be good for my energy. So I got my degree in clinical psych and went into real estate. Why wouldn't I? So what happened is I kind of went back to my roots in neuroscience and psychology, and I want to talk a lot about that today, mindset, and I'll throw some slides up here because it's really important to know that what we do is completely irrelevant to your industry. We think, oh, but wait, I'm in real estate, it's a relationship business, and no computer's ever going to take me out. You're right? But I asked everybody about Zoom for a very specific reason. My grandmother turned 100 years old this year. I sang happy birthday on a Zoom. We celebrated Christmas, we celebrated Thanksgiving, all the things. Was me singing happy birthday to my 100-year-old grandmother any less real or loving than if I was in the room with her? Absolutely not. But what happens is we do a lot of things on social media we would never do in person. So we're going to talk about that. How many of you are still using Zoom for meetings? I am. God, we're never going back. We are never going back. We're going to go back to some of the things, but we're never going back all the way. And the pandemic really accelerated this digital, virtual, online world, and our brains are not ready for that yet because we've been so used to being in the physical. So if I had somebody standing behind me, I'd kind of feel it, right? I'd feel that energy. I'd kind of spatially know where it's at. We get on camera and Zoom, and it feels a little weird. Like, you know how your face seems like, God, do I really look like that? I feel like a little dead on the screen. And don't lie, I know you're staring at yourself in that little square the whole time. And you're like, oh. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we all do it, right? And So what's happening is our brains haven't kind of caught up, and so we're still having this difficulty between being real on digital and how we would be in person. We still sort of feel like, oh, I gotta have this persona, I gotta be professional. That's the word I love to hear, professional. And I'm like, what's keeping you from being a human and professional, right? So when I was speaking a couple weeks ago, there was this big podium. I don't speak in front of podiums unless they make me, but there was a big podium like that. And I started speaking and I started presenting and I just started lowering myself below the podium to the point where you couldn't see me. And I was just talking and I was clicking my slides. And I came up about a minute later and I'm like, that was weird, right? And they were like, that was weird. I'm like, here's the thing, you're doing a lot of weird stuff on social media. Because I would never come to a client's home or have them come to my office and not look them in the eye. That's considered rude, disrespectful. The most human form of communication we have is face-to-face. Just because it's on the screen does not mean it's any different, right? How are we going to build empathy, trust, relationships, relatability with a human being if you're not in it? And then people say, oh, no, I just don't want it to be about me. It's kind of, ooh, cringe. And I say to that, it has nothing to do with ego or fame. Yes, we know about bragging on social media. We get that. We know what that is. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the time that I thought, gosh, I'm looking at my Instagram feed and it's all me. That's kind of weird. And I stopped posting my picture in everything. And when I did that, my engagement went down by 50% because people stopped because they recognized me. And what happens is we get too close to our own story and we think, oh, I'm boring. I don't care what somebody's salad was for lunch. Why would I post about what I'm doing all day? So we're going to talk a lot about those things today. So it's important when we kind of lay the foundation here for some of the things that are going on in the world. Here's where you can find me. If you don't already follow me, let's get connected. You can find me here on Instagram and on all the places. There is a free guide that you'll want to download on my profile. So go to my profile, click the link, and I believe it's called 5-Step Framework. Okay? So when I come back, I'll give you some homework, and when I come back, we'll continue on that 5-step framework. But that will be right there. You can send me a DM anytime. I always tell people my goal is to get you unstuck because I was stuck. I was totally stuck with social media, right? And until I started really researching what was going on, how product psychology works, and how we can use it for good and not evil. And how we can also use it sustainably and to avoid burnout. Because how many of you are feeling like what you're posting is a waste of time sometimes? Nothing's happening. I'm doing my market updates. Why am I not getting any ROI? When am I going to see something? I get that. So I talk about content very differently than most social media strategists because what they're leaving out is, you know what the content is. Content is the thing. It's the post, it's the graphic, it's the video, it's the podcast. We get that. What's missing is the context. And that's how you have the thing have meaning to someone's head and their heart, right? That's how you make it relatable, educational, emotional. You're like, but I'm posting myself and I'm doing a video and I'm giving a market update, but it's still not quite getting me the results that I hoped it would. Okay, we're going to talk about that. My disclaimer, there is no magic hashtag formula. I'd be selling it if there was, and all of you could be using it. I have worked directly with Instagram, and I kind of jokingly say, and I hope Instagram's not listening right now, I disagree with some of the things that Instagram has recently said. So I'm happy to give you my insight, my anecdotal experience, but I will always tell you exactly what is coming directly from Facebook and Instagram as well. But there is no magic hashtag formula. There is no one size fits all, which is awesome because all of us are different. I personally hate posting in the feed. I love stories. I wish I could never post ever again in the feed. It's just not my thing. I don't like writing. I don't like thinking of hashtags. I don't like overthinking the graphics and stressing about it, and I go through this whole imposter syndrome, limiting beliefs like cycle. I get it. Some people love it and they hate stories. That's okay. That's why there's no one, hey, everybody do this, it's going to work for everyone. If someone says that everything they tell you is going to work for everyone, run away. Also, it doesn't have a linear ROI. Why? Because it's immeasurable. People are not measurable. And we really have an expectation to see a human beings in the last 2 years. So if you're using Zoom and you have a green screen logo, remove it. I want to see your actual environment. You don't realize that when we're doing that because we think, oh, I'm in a digital world, subconsciously I'm wondering what's behind. I can't connect in the same way. We've got to figure out how to be more human with technology because it's never going back. And honestly, I think the more human person is going to win. We're all just looking at data points, just like a computer. We're going to talk about data points and trust signals. My brain's taking a mental shortcut all the time, right? That's why some people put their clothes out the night before they travel so you don't have to think about it. That one little tiny thing helps your brain relax. We do that all day long, we don't know it. So if I go to your Instagram profile and there's a bunch of videos and I see you as a human being, and I go to somebody else's and they have a bunch of logos with houses and camera graphics that look beautiful, who am I probably going to call first? In my mind, I subconsciously have a data point of this human versus these are logos. And we do that all day long. I talked a little bit about this. I'm going to skip this part because I kind of told you about my book. But yeah, I am one of the few people that's written a book about social media and cameras and how it's changed our brains for good or for bad. I kind of want to skip over to this cool one of my son here because this one's kind of the one that freaks me out. So we'll start here. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy, Dr. Cialdini. He's actually an ASU professor and he's written a bunch of books. They're fascinating. I love them. They are like textbooks though. So I will tell you, it's a very big, thick book. But let me give you the highlight. The highlight is, yeah, our brains are taking mental shortcuts all day long. And whether you like it or not, people are taking mental shortcuts about your brand and whether they see it or they don't and how they engage with it. So an example of one is when I went to Spokane a couple of weeks ago to speak. I'd never been there. So I just went to Expedia like everybody does. I put in the area, 4 hotels came up, and they all were same star ratings. They all looked great in the pictures. There was one that was $100 more a night. So immediately my brain was like, oh, maybe that one's better. That's an example of a shortcut, right? Same thing happens when it applies to liking. When we're connecting with people. Like, does anybody here have a favorite celebrity or music artist that you've never met? Anyone? Yeah. I don't know if anyone's ever watched like Yellowstone or anything like that. You have like, you know, I love Rip and Beth and all those people. Like, we think we know who these characters are, right? Because we experience them over and over again because we're seeing them. It's a celebrity effect. That's exactly what's happening even when you're not a celebrity. So what happens is we're looking at these trust signals all day long, and it's likes and comments and shares, friends and comment. If you've ever gotten like a friend request and you're like, who the heck is that? And then you're like, oh, Crystal knows them, I see. Okay, yep, accepted. So we're looking at these things to make really quick decisions. How many followers do you have? I hate that one, personally. This thing actually happened to me 2 weeks ago. I was on a call. They were looking for a keynote speaker. I hadn't met this person, and we were on Zoom. Luckily, we had our cameras on so I could see her face. She pulls out her phone, and she types in my name, and all of a sudden she goes, oh, wow, you have a large following. So yeah, we'd like for you to talk. And I was like, well, I'm the same person I was 20 seconds ago. And you don't know any of my credentials or expertise. So I'm not suggesting these are all good things to take shortcuts on. But that's just how we're doing it. How many stars do you have? How many videos do you have? Right? All these little data points because we're real busy. This one's always a fun one. Up at the top, Uber, Lyft. We trust them more than colleagues and neighbors. Why? Because there's an app, we open up, there's a picture, there's a name, and there's a star rating. And so we get into the car of a perfect stranger and feel very comfortable about it. Because our brain has said, oh, default, I can trust that, right? This is the one that I was mentioning. So this was when I really started to freak out. This is my kiddo about 5 years ago, and we used to let him watch a little YouTube cartoon in the morning when he was getting ready for school. And you know how kids are, they watch the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And so he watched the same show every single day until one day he said, Mommy, I don't want to watch this anymore. And I said, Babe, why? You love this. He saw the one next to it and he said, Mommy, this has 1 more star. And I was like, whoa. I was like, let me get my camera. This will be really good for my What freaked me out was that here's a child that, I mean, their parent studies product psychology and how these things get us hooked. I'd never told him about star ratings. We'd never talked about that. Innately, this kiddo figured out that maybe that was better and decided to stop doing something he already liked, right? So industry is irrelevant. Human behavior is not. It's really, really critical that you're thinking about that. Because no matter what happens, we're all on Amazon Prime, we're all on Netflix, we're all on YouTube. It's suggestions, it's star ratings, it's how we are making our decisions. Even if I don't watch any of your videos, any of your TikToks, I don't care. I'm looking at your account and I want to see, okay. I'm immediately thinking, oh, this person knows what they're doing. You might have no idea. You might have no idea what you're doing. But if I'm scrolling through and I'm seeing data points that I can make a decision on possibly, the last place I'm usually going these days is your website, after I've deep dive stalked all your social media. And if we can't stalk social media, what's wrong, right? We're freaked out, like, ooh, no Instagram. Freaking weird. And I have some friends, I've got a girlfriend of mine who's in the dating pool, and she's like, oh no, I better be able to look at all the things and see everything. So this one's really important too. I highly recommend this book. I'm going to be interviewing the author tomorrow live on Instagram at 12 o'clock. It's called Human-Centered Communication. I read a book a week, right? I can easily say this is my favorite book I've read in 5 years. It's phenomenal, and a lot of it has to do with real estate. It's by the guy who made Bomb Bomb. You guys heard of Bomb Bomb? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's by those two guys, and it's called Human-Centered Communication. There were so many highlights I made in this book. I was like, oh, this is exactly what I talk about. But I love this one. When immeasurables enter an equation, they look inefficient because their cost can be seen, but their value cannot. What is he talking about? When we talk about showing up on camera and sending direct messages and voice messages, we're doing the unscalable. We're doing things that are human. And we're in a world where we're like, oh my gosh, KPIs, numbers, transaction closings, how much am I lifting in the gym, my number on the scale. We want to track all these things. And so what happens is we get really frustrated when we don't have what we think is the value. And I talk about this over and over and over again. Let me ask you a question. If you made a video and it answered someone's question, like I'm watching your video, I'm like, I've had that question. That was really helpful. I'm going to send that to my friend. Now, imagine I watched it, I thought it was helpful, and never told you. Never liked it, never commented. Did your video still help me?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. You just don't have a value that we assign to it in the normal world.
But that's when we go to the seen number.
Yeah.
It doesn't really equate to comments or likes.
Right.
The seen.
Right. And then we start to get down on ourselves after a while. We're like, I don't know, I'm putting out these videos every week and I get some views, but where are my transactions, right? It's just like real life, right? You're having human connections at scale like we never have before. Because 22 years ago when I was in real estate, you had to answer the phone if I called you. I had to have your email address. And I had to know where you lived or where I could market to you. Now, I can scale myself as a human being in seconds a day. Where I'm looking directly, like I can't even look at all of you in the eye when I'm talking because I'm kind of moving around the room. But if you watch one of my videos, you're looking at me in the eye when it's totally convenient for you on your terms. So it's really interesting because we talk about all these things like, did you make someone feel seen? Did you make them laugh? Did you bring them joy? Did you check in on them? Did you support their content? All of those things are really immeasurable. But we get stuck in this world of followers, likes, this isn't working, and I have done it. I have gotten caught up in the cult of views. Views do not equal value. And just this week, literally this week, and I'm human, so I'm going to be very transparent about my hang-ups and limiting beliefs in social media too. I was going to make a video, I made a video, it sat in drafts for 3 weeks. Because I kept saying, I was about to post it, I'm like, I feel like this is something everybody knows. Like, this is silly. Like, why? People are going, I literally thought this. People will see this video and someone will comment, well, duh, we all know this already. Like, I literally thought that's what they were going to do. In my mind, I had already, like, gone through the whole scenario, and I was asking, well, do I delete that comment if it happens? Do I respond to it? Like, what do I do? And so I had gone down this rabbit hole. I'm going to tell you what I asked myself, which you need to ask yourself with content that made me post it. And so I posted it, and I have had more comments on that video than I have the last 5 videos combined. And people were like, I didn't know this. Thank you. Oh my gosh, mind blown. Amazing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I almost didn't post this because I thought people would think it was silly. Because we're really subjective about our content, right? So what you need to remind yourself, put it on a post-it note, and I have to tell myself this every day, your content is not for you. Your content is not for you. It's not about you. Your video is not about you. Your content is for your ideal customer, to help them, to educate them. Maybe it's entertain them, maybe inspire, maybe motivate. Whatever that feeling is that you are there to do, what happens is we get really subjective about ourselves. We're like, oh gosh, my voice sounds really terrible in that one. I don't know, I said 30 times. The background was kind of off. Well, okay, no one cares but you, because if you said, I'm not going to post that, but you didn't know I watched it, and I was like, that was amazingly helpful, it still helped me. You just didn't know it. You got to love the lurkers. Yeah. The lurkers are out there, and I'm a lurker. I mean, how many of us send stuff like memes or videos that we think are funny? We don't tell those people. We're like, these are hilarious, look at this, just reminded me of you. So you have to love the lurkers, because remember, here's what's going on in our world with content. Our clients, unless they're investors, they're not buying houses every week to live in. So your content is only relevant to me for a certain amount of time if it's just about real estate in the market. So if you just helped me buy my dream home that we just closed 2 months ago, I don't care about any of your listings that you're posting, because I already got mine. So how are you staying relevant as a human being who happens to sell real estate for the other 5, 7, 8 years? Because you want to be top of mind, because you want referrals. They're not going to buy another house unless you're crazy like me and buy 2 houses in 3 years. So it's possible. But yeah, so I just love this. It's a great book. I think everybody should read it. But it gets really, really weird when I sit down with a company and they're like, so what's the ROI and what's the percentage? When can we expect the return on the posts? And I'm like, well, that's like saying, what's the ROI of your kid? Like, is there a percentage? Like, I have 2 dogs, and I'm like, it's hard for me to put a number on their value, but like, they bring me joy, so there's still value there. It doesn't work that way. And we're doing stuff on social media, like copying and pasting and giving polite spam, like, oh, hey, Crystal, I was just thinking of you, hope the family's well, let me know if I can help you with your real estate needs. Oh, that was polite, that was spam. You can talk about me in my DMs, right? And that's what we should be doing, because we're like, oh, I need to get my script out, and I need to see what I'm gonna copy paste your checklisting again. The checklisting is for you. I got things done today. I DM'd 20 people, and we're really savvy. We know when somebody hasn't made it for us, right? We know when someone's made a voice message and put our name in it. The checklisting is for us. The unscalable is for them. And yeah, it takes 60 seconds to send 3 direct messages. I'm giving you like 30 more seconds than it actually does. But we're thinking of, oh my gosh, social media digital is different. It's not anymore. And so when we go to Target today and the checkout person's like, hey, how are you? You're not like, let me just, hold on, I gotta get my script up. I'm great. How are you? We don't do that, right? So what are we doing on social media? We're not being human. We're throwing our business cards in people's faces and running away. We wouldn't do that at a B&I meeting, right? We wouldn't invite people into an open house and hide behind a door and slip your card underneath it. So we have to stop thinking about technology as this whole complete different world. All right, let's see what else we got in here. I want to give you, does anyone have questions before I dive in? I know that I've been talking for a long time, so just hit me with them if you do. I'm kind of just going to jump around on my slides. No? Okay, no questions. I can just start calling on people. That's what I'm going to do. I don't mind. I am one of those instructors. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of content, and I'm a Tom Ferry client, so.
Yeah, love Tom.
Yeah. But I feel like a lot of what he's celebrating lately has to do with these agents that are doing a really awesome job because their production value is fantastic. It's all of it. But in my mind, they're really just trying to impress other agents. I don't know how much of the content possible clients really give a crap about.
That's actually a really good topic that comes up a lot. You know, a lot of people, it comes in different forms. Some people say, why do I have so many realtors following me? You know, like, should I have a lot of realtors? Like, why can't I get more out to the consumers? And a lot of that has to do with, number one, the kind of content you're making. You're attracting other realtors, which is totally fine, because if you have an amazing referral network, I mean, as you know, it's income theory.
Right.
But, you know, a friend of mine just said this to me the other day. So will you look at my reels and figure out what am I doing wrong? And I'm like, well, first of all, you're not doing anything wrong. The fact that you're making them is amazing. Let me look and see who you're talking to in them. So I go, and they're cute and entertaining and funny, but they were all things realtors think are funny. I said, this is fine, you know, do that. Have your creative, you know, joy. I make stuff for me because, shoot, I don't want to burn out. I don't want to just make stuff all day long. I don't enjoy making Instagram tips. Honestly, I enjoy making funny things. But I have to do the Instagram tips, right? So we have to remember that, who are you making the content for? Because honestly, like, the market update, everybody in this market has the same inventory. Everybody got the same conforming loan limit. So the only way you're making original content is putting you in it. So we see like market update, stats, logo, great. Okay, well everybody else has that too. So our only shot to humanize it, you gotta put yourself in it. And also you have to give me your opinion, advice, experience, expertise. Maybe I don't really know much about the market and I'm thinking it's gonna be a bubble, but then you come on and you're like, here's the information, here's what inventory means, this is what this means for you. And by the way, let me give you a little tip. 2 years ago, it was up like this, and so it means we're not in a bubble. Whatever, I'm just making that up, right? Yeah. So yes, I mean, to your point, you have to be clear on who the content is for. And if you're really looking at it, and you're like, who's engaging in this content, right? Do I go to Instagram and look for a just listed? No, not yet. Maybe one day, but I don't wake up and go, I'm going to go to Instagram and I'm going to look for realtors of Instagram, hashtag LO life. No, we don't, right? We don't do that yet. So it's really important to remember that we're going to attract our niche and our industry, which is great. And you have to be very focused on that. And because of what we do, and there's such a long cycle, you're going to have people that watch for 2 years, 2 months, 5 years, and then pick up the phone or DM you. I mean, I literally get 100% of my bookings through DM, and some lady was like, I followed you for 7 years. I'm like, I have no idea who you are. That's great, right? But yes, to your point, I do think that sometimes, you know, we forget that who we're making the content for. To be honest with you, I'd rather make the content for me that makes me laugh. But I'm like, well, who's my content for? I gotta make it for the people that want to come and learn about Instagram. So yeah, that is something that I think is probably just industry irrelevant, but yeah, you see that. But I also think it's great too, because you want other people to relate to what you do and the things that we go through as, you know, in the real estate industry. So did somebody else have a comment, question before? Yes.
Can we take any video? Or
oh, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're recording it too. So yeah.
So in case you want to have a reel or a story or something.
yeah. I mean, yes, now's a good time to take a picture for a story. Just saying. Okay, so let's talk about what I have up on the screen. When I think about brand, I think about content, social, and brand very differently than a lot of people. And I'm not an expert. I didn't go to school for it. It's just my perspective and how I see it. But when people talk about brand, they're always like, your personal brand, authenticity, blah, 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 blah. And to be authentic on camera every day is pretty darn hard. It just feels weird, right? So there's a lot of things that go into that. But I look at brand as being impacted by a lot of stuff that we don't have control over. And so I feel like when you go to these classes, and I'm saying me, you is me too, I'm like, oh, but you're presenting it as if I can control this. And all I have to do is put content out, and all I have to do is put a video out, and then all of a sudden I'm going to, like, you know, massively impact my brands. It doesn't quite work that way because algorithms, right? We don't control that. And I'm going to give you exactly what Facebook and Instagram's algorithms are and tell you what they want for the good and for the not so good, and how you can use it in a positive way. So the algorithms we don't control, they're just looking at data points, right? They're just taking in data points. It's a machine, yeah, it's a quote smart machine that's learning. But we don't control them. We don't control if the platforms go down tomorrow and everything's gone. We don't control if somebody tries to hack you, which has happened rampantly in the last month. People have been DMing me all day. Oh my God, somebody just hacked into my account and I lost it and I can't get in. I'm like, oh, that is not good news. I do not have good news for you. So there's all these things that could impact our content. The next thing is, if we give the algorithms what it wants, it actually works out in our favor and it feels better for us and feels better for the person you're communicating with. So it's kind of like a win-win all the way around. We're gonna talk about that. What happens when you do that, then you impact the perception of the person who's looking at your content, where they're like, I feel like I see you everywhere. I feel like when I open up my Instagram, you are always there. That's exactly how we want people to feel like. We want people to feel like they are always seeing us on their terms, not interrupting them, that they're seeing us, right? So it's like billboards on the highway. Do billboards work? Sure. Commercials still work. You're driving by it every day. But think about how often you drive by your feed. So when somebody's like, hey, I'm going to email you, I'm like, great, I time block my emails. And I generally think of emails as work. So when I go into my notifications, which by the way, they're totally off. You haven't heard it buzz at all. Everything visually is off, everything sound is off. But when I go into my Instagram, I always look at the notifications. Why? Because probably somebody is talking about me. That sounds weird, I get it, but let's be honest. Oh, somebody's probably commented on my reel. Let me like, oh, that's great. So we generally have a very positive me-focused experience when it comes to social media notifications. Every once in a while we get the spammer, which, we roll our eyes at and block. But we're still paying attention to that. So I'm not really paying attention to the emails. I'm not going to my mailbox as much. And so where are we spending our time where we're not interrupting people, where we're supporting them, and we're also having the perception that you're always there? So then we talk about content, and we don't even control everything about content. We can control the format, we can control what we're saying in it, or the bullet points or scripting or what have you. We can control the hashtags, but I do not control if someone loves it or doesn't love it. And I can tell you how frustrating it is as a content creator when I spend an hour making something that I think is going to be amazing, and I post it, I'm like, I don't know. And nothing happens, like it's just normal. And then I take a video of my dog, and everyone's like, that's it, we're gonna go mega viral. Viral is not our goal, right? But you know what it's like when you're not even thinking about it. You're like, but I put so much love and care into that Canva infographic, and nothing happened. So all of that comes together and impacts our brand. So just to let you know, there's a lot of stuff, going on that we don't control. So how do we work with it? So these are the algorithms. This is directly from Facebook and Instagram. They're using different language, but it means the same thing. So Facebook is using meaningful interactions. Instagram is using the word relationships. What does that mean? Can a computer tell if I'm actually friends with someone in real life? No. It knows who I talk to. It knows who I'm liking their stuff. It knows if I'm hovering over their video. It can tell all those things. So it's just looking for data points. So you can proactively give those data points. And what happens is when you start to intentionally and strategically comment, thoughtfully comment, I'm not talking about a little heart or a little emoji. You can leave the heart eye emoji if you want. In the eyes of the algorithm, by the way, it doesn't care. If you leave a 5-paragraph comment, it's weighted the same or ranked the same as if you were to leave the fire emoji. It doesn't matter, okay? But to the person on the other side, it matters a whole lot more. And I kind of say this in jest, but I'm being serious too. I appreciate the comment, but when I see great video, I know they didn't watch it, right? Maybe they did, but now I'm like, oh, they didn't watch it. Okay, cool, I appreciate the comment, right? So we're dealing with all these little mind things. So what happens is we first need to start, if you have been posting and nothing is working, stop posting. Just stop posting for a while. Because what actually is happening in these platforms, which when I tell you the real reason, you're not going to really love it, but what happens is your content's probably not getting any engagement because you haven't told the algorithm that you're a good community member. So I call it my super fan strategy, and it's all about where's the attention. Are we interrupting people and saying, hey you? Or are we saying, you know, oh my gosh, I love your shoes, right? So there's two different ways to talk to people, two different ways to get attention. We'd all rather have this one than this one. So what happens is you can build your brand without ever posting content. I wrote a book about posting content, so yes, I believe you should post content. We're gonna get there. Maybe that's class number 2. But what you first need to do is make sure that your comments are content. We don't look at comments as content. We think, oh, that's just something that we're doing, right? And I want you to let go of the liking, and I want you to start commenting. And maybe you can only do 3 a day. Honestly, maybe you have to scroll and look to find something that's worth commenting on. Maybe you ask a question, because here's why. The algorithm doesn't care that you're asking a question versus dropping an emoji or a like, but nobody looks at the likes. I don't click on my heart or my thumbs up on Facebook and open up and look at the names. I look at my comments, right? So where are we with attention? So you can build brand without the content. The notifications are free repeat branding. How many times am I going into my notifications? How many times am I seeing your profile name and your picture and your comment? And you're talking about my content. Thank you. Love it. I'm having a really me-focused experience right now. But I'm seeing you again and again and again and again. And then what happens is the algorithm's like, every time Allie posts, Chelsea comments. Well, that's a data point. So we're going to predict that maybe Chelsea wants to see more of Allie. So now let's resort the feed so that Allie's posts are always at the top. Because if we can get Chelsea to see more of what she wants, I will spend more time in the app and have a more positive experience while I'm there. A lot of people have been saying, I don't like being in this app, and I haven't used it in a long time, and now I'm over here. Whatever, fill in the blank of whatever it is. Maybe it was Facebook, and now you're on TikTok. Maybe it was Facebook, and you're on Instagram, whatever. We want to see what we want to see. And so if these systems can figure out what to show us, and people and accounts that we want to see, we spend more time there. Now what happens to me as somebody who's a heavy engager, I spend the majority of my time engaging, and it says, oh, wait a minute. Chelsea's not only commenting on Allie's stuff, but Allie is commenting back. So now there's a two-way communication. There's a relationship, meaningful relationship. And so it says, wait, let's reshuffle both of their feeds. So now they see each other. So the point is, if you are strategically and humanly and intentionally talking to your past clients, current clients, people who can refer you business, guess whose post they're going to see when you do post. And the people that engage with my content, when I make a post, they engage with my content because I have engaged with theirs. And they're like, oh my gosh, here's Chelsea. Okay, I've developed a trust that they know what my content is going to deliver. And so they stop and they read it, and yes, because my content is about being engaging, they engage. Mainly probably because they feel guilty. They're like, oh, this post is about engagement, I better leave it. It's fine, right? But still, that's the whole point, is that reciprocity is a real thing. So you gotta give it if you wanna get it. The good community member score, here's the part that's not so great. So the platforms make a whole lot of money off of us, right? The longer we spend, the more ads they serve, the more time we can get in there, and the more addicted we get. It's kind of like when, anyone watch TikTok, go down the rabbit hole on TikTok, they're like, whoa, it's only going to be there in 2 minutes, I'm here for 2 hours. You guys, not great, right? Because I'm going like this, and I'm dopamine. I go over to LinkedIn, and I'm like, yeah, this is not the same mental experience, right? I mean, and it's not great, right? We don't want everybody's attention span to go down to 2 seconds. There's pluses and minuses. But we can't ignore that these products are getting us into this mindset. So what also happens is when I'm talking to people and bringing them back, they're probably not going to open up one comment and bounce. So now they're like, Chelsea, you're a good community member. Thank you for bringing people back to the platform. Now, I don't love that I'm participating in that big machine, but I love that I'm talking to people every day. The other thing is, who is Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, the biggest company out there? Who's their competitor? It's this. It's not TikTok. It's not anyone else. It's this. It's me calling and texting people on it, because now I go and I text people in the DM. And there are people that I have no idea what their phone number is. I've been texting them for 2 years in the DM. Oh, let me go back to my messages that live in Instagram. Oh, by the way, let's make it so you can video call. You can FaceTime right here, and there's no charges. Right? They want us to be in here all the time. I don't think that's a great thing, but let's use it for good and not evil, right? Direct messages, you should be spending the majority of your time there. It is the secret sauce for conversion. How many of you have gotten some transactions from social media or from relationships that you've developed over time? Okay, let me just ask you this. I described this aha moment shift, but a lot of people haven't gotten to it yet. So until you get to it, you're like, so I'm gonna ask you, have you ever had that moment where you got that transaction because somebody was watching you and maybe you didn't even know, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, this feels like I'm cheating. Like I'm not even selling. Like I'm just making content, maybe I'm documenting my day, and I'm talking to people, and I kind of enjoy it, and people are wanting to work with me, right? You start to feel like this is cheating the system. And you realize, this is so much easier than what I was doing, or like, why haven't I added this into my regimen? Because, you know, back in 2000, like, I was calling people, meeting people. Now I can do that in a DM and talk about them. And you have this like shift of like, wow, I did not realize that this was going to be like this. Like, I don't sell in my social media, and I have people coming to me and booking me all day long. I refer 70% of the requests out. That's how many I get. I do not market. It's because I've shown up and developed relationships, and people are now DMing me. And I feel like it's really weird, because I used to sell very differently, and now I feel like it's a very opposite world. Like, people don't want to be sold. People don't want to see a brand. They don't want to see logos. And I think that's truly been accelerated from the pandemic. I think people really, really, really want to see a human being. Mm-hmm. And we got really tired and savvy. What's the most professional network? What's the most professional social media network? Most professional. Which one would you say? LinkedIn. Yes. Okay. I was running last week. I was listening to my true crime podcast, because I love to start my morning with death. And I'm running, and I hear an ad, because I'm too cheap to pay for this ad-free Spotify. And so I hear this ad, and it's a LinkedIn ad, and I actually stopped running, and I pulled off to the side of the street, and I actually emailed myself. Because LinkedIn is always everyone's answer, right? LinkedIn is the professional network. LinkedIn is the boring network. LinkedIn is the resume network, right? They know they have a brand problem. And so the challenge is like, people always say, yeah, I don't know about TikTok. Like, I feel like a professional luxury agent isn't going to be doing that. Like, it's just not for me, right? So we have these ideas about boxes around professionalism and being human and all of that. And we all still apologize. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My dog just like came in. I'm sorry that my kid's out there. You can hear him. So the whole marketing campaign about LinkedIn is, we're redefining what professional means. You get to make work for you. And they show a mom with their kiddo that they're holding in the Zoom call doing work. Just because we're human doesn't mean we can't be professional. And what happens is we want to be with human beings. And now that we're all digital pretty much all the time, in some way, shape, or form, we're looking for human cues. I love the dog that comes in. I'd rather see that than your PowerPoint. Oh my God, oh, you have a dog, oh yeah, no, bring the dog in. Oh yeah, bring the dog in. Oh, there's your kiddos, yeah. It's no longer like, it's almost like that, remember that BBC where the guy's like in the suit in the bedroom and his kid, like the door opens up and the kid's like just crawling through and the mom's like underneath? Yeah. You know, that's the way that it was. That's the way that it was, right? We were embarrassed to have a family. We were embarrassed to, you know, I'm in a bedroom on my computer. Oh, terrible, right? We were wearing suits on the top and pajamas on the bottom. I'm not suggesting you just wear pajamas, like, wear regular clothes, but like, geez, we are human beings, right? So it's going to be a really big thing for us to overcome that. What I love about this is that it eliminates excuses, because you don't need any of my contact information. You do not even need to be my friend to connect with me on social, and you don't need to be on video. You don't need to think of hashtags. You don't even need to think of what to say. If somebody is using an Instagram story, they are telling you exactly what to talk to them about. I don't care, whatever it is. They're talking about the sunset in the morning, having coffee. Talk to them about coffee. What kind of creamer do you use? What's your favorite coffee? Love that cup. Do you collect them? They are telling you exactly what to talk about. You never have to think. I remember back when I was calling people, I was like, oh God, I haven't talked to these people in like a year. And they're probably like, well, it's time for her to do her calls once a year and see if she can drum up some more business. Like, that was what was in my head. And I would get really uncomfortable. Like, what do I talk about? Like, oh, here's your market update, right? But now I can talk to somebody about whatever they're showing me. This is like a true gift. We've never had that before. Okay. So I'm going to put this up here, and then I want to do some questions too. So I always kind of talk about this is imagine what your business would look like if, right? We're in real estate. I know all the things, all the coaches, trainers. Imagine if you did numbers. Now, I'm not a metrics person, but I think this one's worth looking at. So imagine if you sent 3 personal direct messages a workday on one platform. And I'm just going to voice mine because I'm just going to be like, let's time me. Hey Crystal, just want to let you know I was thinking of you. I saw this funny meme and it just reminded me of that one time that we were talking about kids. Hope you have a great day. That took me, 1.5, 2 seconds? Okay. So let me just give you a full 60 seconds, even though I know it won't take that long. But mentally, you need to have that in your head. What if you sent 3 direct messages, being a human being, proactively, 60 seconds, a work day, which is 261 days of the year. That's almost 800 conversations that you are initiating, that you are giving data points on, that you are being a human being. It's probably going to make you feel pretty good that you were a nice human and said something to someone today. Great, check it off. And, what if 10% of them start talking about anything related to real estate, which is a lot easier than if we were plastic surgeons. We're like, hey, do you need another facelift? Like, we have the ability to talk about the community. You might be living in the community that you helped them buy the house in, like the new restaurant that's opening, like what's that new restaurant that's opening? I'm going to it on by Scottsdale Quarter, that Maple and Ash. See, we're like, oh yeah, that one, right? That's all real estate community stuff. So it's real easy for us to get into a conversation. What if you had about 80 people? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad, Crystal, you were in my DMs. It's funny, I was just talking to my neighbor last night, and they were thinking about listing. I'll connect you guys, right? That's how it happens. Now, I'm going to just delete this bullet point because 19 new transactions would be awesome, but what if you just got one person who closed with you? That's it. One closing in an entire year where you spent 60 seconds from the comfort of your bed with your tea or your coffee being a human being. Is that not worth it? That's worth it. That is worth it, especially in our industry. One transaction is worth it. So, I love putting that up there because everyone's like, well, I just don't have time for social media. I'm like, well, you don't have time to talk to people? Like, that's impossible. Okay, does anyone have any questions? I know we're coming up on the hour, right? Oh yes, the hour. So I'm happy to stay, by the way, if anybody wants to. I can go for an hour and a half if you want, but I know you guys have schedules. So does anyone have questions about anything? Because I'm going to flip to some other slides. No? Nothing? Nothing yet. Okay, good. Is this valuable? Are you guys liking it? Okay, yes. Good. Let us know. Okay, so we kind of talked about that super fan content. I want to just skip here to some examples, yeah? Okay. So my brain works really well in examples, so I want to kind of close out with this. I'm just going to pop all of these up here. So, we talked about metrics, and I just made a post on Instagram about this, that, we're always looking for that metric to confirm that we did a good job, to confirm that it was valuable, right? But what if you completely change your metrics? Like, one of my metrics literally for 5 years was I'm going to make a video a week and I'm going to post it and I'm not going to watch it back. I didn't watch my stuff back for 5 years because I knew I'd pick it apart and I wouldn't make the next video. It was already hard for me to make the video in the first place. Maybe that's your metric. Fine. I don't recommend that because I would have gotten a lot better, a lot quicker if I'd watched it. Maybe you're making TikToks and it took you an hour to make the first one and now it takes you 2 minutes. Great, that's a metric. You make up your own metrics of what matters to you and your business and your mental health. So it doesn't have to be a very specific metric of how many followers did you get this week? How many views do you have? Don't let the views suck you in because they sucked me in and I started changing my content. And I said, whoa, 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 wait a minute, I'm chasing views. Why am I doing that? It's really intoxicating, right? Here's another one. We talked about loving the lurkers, but now it's time to turn your statements into stories. One of the big challenges with content is I talked about context. And I talked about the problem is you know what to post. You get that. You know you got to do a video. You know you got to be educational. You know you have to do all of that stuff. But sometimes it's just missing something. And what happens is we start telling people that we're in real estate, and that's where we stop. We make a statement. I'm in real estate. I'm a realtor, period, end of story, right? We need to tell people we're in real estate without telling them we're in real estate all the time. It's product placement. Nothing new. It is a concept that's been around forever. So, for example, I could be holding a Coca-Cola, and maybe I'm talking about the weather or the market, and somebody sees that Coca-Cola, and they're like, it's been a while since I've had a Coke. I think I'm going to go get one today. So let's talk about that. One of my favorite books, Donald Miller, Building a Story Brand. I love this book. I've read it 7 times. Every time I read it, I get something new out of it, but he so brilliantly breaks down storytelling, which is not our forte. We are not writers, we are not actors, we are not videographers, so let's talk about what he brilliantly talks about. In here, he talks about this concept that every single movie, every story, every book has the same pattern. There's a hero, they've got to save the day, there's a problem, whatever it is, they need help, they find a guide. The guide knows what to do, they come together and they either solve the problem or they don't. It's a happy ending or a sad ending, right? So, anyone seen that movie? Yeah? Love this movie. So what happens is, in the book, he talks about hero versus guide. And what happens is we're always in hero mindset. We have to be the expert. We have to be the resource. We have to be telling people what they need to know. We have to prove that we have credibility and experience and competence. But the problem is, since everybody in this room has seen this movie, we know the hero is Daniel, but Daniel didn't know what the heck he was doing, right? He was like, oof, I need help. The guide, Mr. Miyagi, had been there, done that, and had a plan. The other thing that Donald Miller talks about with this concept of hero or guide is that each one of us wakes up every day and we self-identify as a hero. So if your content is hero content, and I'm already the hero, we are in different stories. And that's why they're not engaging with your content. So let me give you some examples. Let's go through here. Oh, I have this because earlier in the presentation I talked about boring content. And 2 of YouTube's top creators for 2021 were dentist accounts. And boring content is some of my favorite content. It's not about the plot, it's about the character, right? And so in one of my slides, I talk about how these dentists, because they have a great character, earns their spot. So there is no boring content, right? It's just how you present it. So I put this example up because here we go. We've got the things. But Chelsea, you told me I had to have my face in it. It's right here. You told me I had to have a call to action. It's right there. Book your appointment online. You also told me I had to establish authority. So I said I'm the top realtor. But the problem is this doesn't get engagement like we hope. Right? This becomes an unpaid ad because this is the hero. What are you learning from that post that can help you? Nothing. You're learning about me. What emotions do you feel from that? Nothing. So how do we turn that into a guide? If I was the top dentist and I cleaned 832 sets of teeth last year, I've probably seen a lot of stuff. So make content about a lot of stuff and show up consistently, right? What about the people that had an emergency on Saturday that you talked about? And then a year later, someone calls you, oh my gosh, I remember that one time you did that video, you said about that Saturday emergency, and it just popped into my head, and I just pulled my tooth out on accident. That happened to me. I was going on a vacation the next day, and I had to like meet the dentist like right off the golf course, and like he had to like glue my tooth back together.
And you love the dentist.
I love the dentist. Love it, absolutely. I'm heavily medicated at the dentist, so it's all good. Here's another one, right? Again, it's a beautiful camera graphic. It's got me in it. I'm telling you, hey, I spent 22 years in the industry, and I obviously made up the other stuff, right? But that's a hero. That's not teaching you anything. That's about me. That's an unpaid ad. This is the same post and my actual story of being in the industry for 22 years. And what actually happened is I got into real estate because I had nowhere to live. I didn't have a house. I didn't have any money. I had been working in another state with my then boyfriend, who is now my husband of 21 years. And I caught the owner of the company stealing all the money. He stole a year's worth of salary for 5 people and all of our house payments, and I caught him. And so I had to sell my KitchenAid mixer and everything I owned to get home. I sold it for 50 bucks. And I never bought one for 22 years because that was like my life's like focal point. Like that was an amazing experience. I learned a lot. And when I hit the bestseller list, my husband bought me one. And I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. And it wasn't because oh my God, I have one. It was because, wow, that meant so much to me in my life because I remember what happened. And it's the last thing I see because my bedroom's over here. I look at it when I wake up. I look at it. This is my personal like sign in life. Now that is a lot more relatable. And by the way, in 22 years, I learned a lot of things, right? That's a relatable story. I'm sure you've never seen any of these, right? It's beautiful, and we want to tell people, right? We need to. What are you learning? How is that relevant to me if I just bought a house? It's not. So this is my friend Desiree. Where is she standing? New build. Tell me you're in real estate without telling me you are in real estate. Now, Desiree is a friend of mine. I recognize my guide. How am I seeing my guide and knowing who it is if I never see you? I stopped because of Desiree. And I'm not looking for a new home. I might be looking at, oh wow, is that on the lake? That's amazing to have a house that backs up to the lake. I might only care about the fact that she worked out and then told me what her favorite, drink was with the oat milk latte. She could have put a camera graphic that said, I'm a new home specialist, call me. But this is going to bring people into the conversation. Here's another one, my friend Katie. So Katie, she's in Tom's group. I vision board, so this kind of stopped me, and I was like, oh yeah, I have vision board too. But what this really is, this is saying I'm successful, I'm still an agent. Oh, and this year I have a team because my whole team got together and we did this. This almost could be a recruiting post if you ask me. This is I'm telling you I'm in real estate without telling you I'm in real estate.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think people take the time to when there's that much written?
I think
sometimes it looks daunting to me. And
I think they take the time when you train them.
Okay.
So for me, I took a long time to train people that there's stuff in the caption. Mm-hmm. And now people know because I've built up trust. Mm-hmm. Oh, don't miss the caption. Mm-hmm. She's dropping the gems in the caption. So it does take time. And sometimes you literally have to say, read the caption. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and remember all of those words are read by the computer, too. So, I'm not saying it's required,
right?
But it does take time to have people be like, oh, okay, now I know that every time I'm going to get something out of this. So, this one, we have to talk about our new listings, right? We're going to market them. This is a little bit of the hero, right? A little bit of the hero. This is my friend Amy. She has, probably like 1 million views combined on these few second reels. And she didn't use a different house in each one of them. It's the same house. She probably took 10 videos that day. Now, this is her personality. She likes to be funny and joyous, and that may not be your personality. But for example, it says, when an out-of-town client asks me if the shower is big enough. And she's on here. I told her she looked like Elf on the Shelf here. But like, first of all, gorgeous home, but it's almost like I see her and then the home, right? And she got 1 million views for free. I mean, that's pretty amazing. This one, yeah, we want to tell people, sold another house, it's great. So this is my friend Nicole, and she goes by the Hungry Realtor. She loves to cook. I love red wine, Nicole loves red wine. So I stop because I see my guide, I see Nicole, and she's drinking red wine, and I also happen to collect skulls. So I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that, those like little things. But what you don't see is celebrated opening escrow last night by blah. So now I'm like, hey, we're celebrating. Hey, congrats, that's awesome. What wine are you drinking? And then she went into like all the things she was making. I might not even care about the fact that she's opening escrow. I certainly am not going to stop and be like, hey, that's amazing if I see your Canva graphic that says under escrow, right? So you already have the good content. It's just tweaking it to make it a little bit more guide versus hero. It's my friend Ruthie. She could have done, do I have it? No, I don't have it. I have an updated presentation where I have like the Canva graphic, this is Happy Thanksgiving, that everybody puts in the feed on Thanksgiving. But like, hey, product placement, tell me your real estate without telling me your real estate. Like, I'm wearing my logo, I've got my logos on the pies, and like, I know we don't have time to read this, but like, I kind of teared up when I read her caption. Like, it was truly heartfelt and really grateful for the people that she was able to work with that year. And she even says, 6 years later, I've never been so sure of my calling. The whole point was she wasn't so sure in the beginning. This one, I'm sure no one's ever seen anything like
I have a
that.
question.
Yeah.
What did you mean when you said the computer reads the words in the caption? That's part of the algorithm?
It's listening, it's, looking at the caption words that you're using, which is good because on, otherwise, if it wasn't, it would basically be relying on like hashtags.
Okay.
And so what's nice now is that it doesn't just look at that. It looks at what you generally post about. Is there a theme? What's in your photo? What's in the actual video? What are you saying? What are the words in the caption?
So are you mindful of using words that they'll see?
Not really. I mean, I'd be lying if I said, yes, because I don't want it to prevent me from just writing. What I do is I write, and then I take out all the words that say I and switch it to you. That's the only thing that I really do for editing because I want to invite people into the conversation. But again, there's no magic bullet. It's a long-term you showing up and being consistent. It's like, I'm going to go in and kill it in this like 90-minute workout, and I'm not going to go in for another 2 months. Like, wait, why isn't this working? Oh, it's because I drink wine every night, right? And so it's that consistency. I know, they keep telling me that I need to stop if I really want to see results, but I won't. I also bought the Easter candy, like the Cadbury, not the eggs, but the little bird eggs, and I'm like, oh, and it makes your fingers smell so good. Oh my god. Okay, sorry. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so this is good information, but everybody else has it. So what if you did this? By the way, Taya, you probably know Taya too. Yeah. Has any realtor on the planet ever talked about renting versus owning? Yeah. This is not original content. It's only original because it's Taya's 2 cents, which means her opinion, her perspective. So she's not doing anything that any other realtor on the planet hasn't already done. And you don't have to make original content. You shouldn't. You should recycle your old content because A, no one remembers, B, there's new people, and C, you're going to say something or have a different perspective a year later about the same thing. I'll give you this last one. Now hiring. Okay? That's the hero. This is the guide. This is actually my friend Ruthie with the pies. So yeah, if there's dogs, I'm there. I am signing up to work there if you allow dogs. Love that. And we all don't have this really amazing lakefront property that she does. That would be awesome. But you know what's really cool is every year they do an annual broker Olympics. And you're going to camp. You're in racing in canoes. And I was like, God, if I lived there, I would totally work there. So So show me what it's like to work with you. Don't just, tell me it's
Where is there?
That is in, she's in Tacoma, I think, or close to it, but I don't know where that particular lake is. I think it's just outside of there. But yeah, she's in Pacific Northwest. Yeah. I know, we were all calculating how much that house is already. I know.
Yeah.
It's okay. I spent a lot of years in real estate too. So, until our next time, I just really want you guys to just be thinking, if I go to your Instagram profile today, can I see anything other than a house and a logo? Like, will I know, what are you into? Do you have a family? Do you have dogs? What's your personality like? Like, you can go to my profile, and even if you didn't have any idea who I was, you can kind of get a sense of my personality. It's bright, it's energetic, it's goofy. Like, you will see that when you glance at my content. Also, go look through your posts. How often are you using the word I in all of your captions? How often are you showing me guide stuff versus hero? Are you making statements, or are you asking questions and telling me a story that I can relate to or feel something in? So we can dive down if you want to in the next class about really the deep dives of content, and like we can look at your content and I can say this is great content, let me show you how I tweak it so that you can get more engagement. But ultimately I'm here for you guys, so you can tell me what you want me to talk about next time. And I don't know, when am I coming back, Crystal? I don't remember when that is. So we'll quarter, right?
I think we scheduled it, yeah. But it'll be
well, you better schedule it.
next quarter.
You better get on it, because
before you leave today.
yeah, because I am booking in.
And everybody signed in, right?
Yes,
I'll
everyone
be
signed
emailing everybody that signed in.
Yes.
The next class as well.
Yes, sign in, and don't forget to go to my profile or my website. It's just chelseapeitz.com. Get the free things in there because it's got some stuff, a lot of stuff we didn't cover. But there's one of my favorite parts of that guide is there's a page that says if you have forgotten your story, because we forget our story all the time, we think we're boring, we're too close to it, and we think, oh gosh, nobody cares about that. There's some really helpful questions that can help you re-find your story and all of the really amazing, interesting things there are about you that people want to connect with you on. Maybe that might be a good place for you to start too. So thanks for having me, guys. I'm sorry I went over a little bit on time.
One thing really quick is like you are connected in that like online space so well with other people that like I love consuming your stuff, and then you're so good at either going live or sharing content with other creators that are in maybe a little bit of a different lane or specialize in a little different area, and I follow those people, and it's really kind of created a kind of a well-rounded group of people that are still in our real estate space, but also maybe communicate a little bit differently or do different things. And that's helped me a ton because I consume your information, but then I consume this person's information. It just is a couple of different
I'm just a big believer that, different perspectives, different insights, different industries, different people, different lives, different experiences is really important to, that's really cool. Thank you, because so far I don't think anybody's ever given me that compliment, and it's nice to know because I'm like, gosh, people need to know about your message, and even though maybe it's not in real estate, like, this is going to help us with your limiting beliefs, your mindset, imposter syndrome, fear of being on camera, whatever it may be. But
and I think too, like the message comes differently from different people.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me something, or Crystal's telling me something, or you're telling me something, the way that you say it, sometimes it connects differently. So I think it's really important.
It's like me and my husband. I keep telling him the same thing all the time.
I do too.
I'm like,
her husband is our boss, by the way.
I've been saying that forever. Like, he literally thinks I don't know anything about Instagram. I'm like, I have a sweatshirt from Instagram. Okay. He sent me a sweatshirt. Like, I know something.
The best conversations we have with Brian, which is her husband, are when we know something about his life that he's never shared with us, but we know it because of you. And I'm like, how do you know that? Like, how was the doctor this morning? How do you know I was at the doctor?
Yeah. So creepy. And I always ask if it's okay if I post like some of the stuff, but yeah.
Well, I have two things. One is a compliment. I didn't believe in a lot of this. And then I took your coaching and did all of the uncomfortable things because I will always do what I have to do to get an A, even if it's live video on Facebook. I'm like, I will do it. I will look the other way, and I will do it. Not that I've done much of it since here, of course. But I'm not a realtor. I obviously work with realtors, and one day I was in my office and I thought I had like a robocall showing up on my phone, and I was like, okay, you know, it's 6:02, so I'll answer it. And she said, hey, this is Stacy, you know, blah, blah, blah. I have no idea who this woman is. She's like, I just got promoted to this brokerage position. We're launching this new brokerage, and I get to pick my title partner, and I want you to be my title partner. She's just like, I love the way that you do things on social media. Meanwhile, I literally have no idea who this woman is. So when I say that the process converts, it really does. And now I have a successful partnership with that brokerage that has expanded and grown and so on and so forth. But the second part, I had a question about, because this is something I struggle with, I think we all struggle with in real estate. And maybe it's just perception, but I don't, I struggle to turn it off. You know, and be present. You know, you're talking about that eye contact, and that's part of my fear. And adding video is, I'm already like, my kids and my husband are like, are you really working or DMing on Instagram? And I'm like, well, somebody just requested a bunch of stuff on Instagram. I gotta, you know, get it done. So adding another element of like being on stories all the time, I just like,
I mean,
can't imagine.
You have to really protect your space, your mental space, your emotional space, your family space, and whatever those boundaries are. And you have to have the non-negotiables, and I definitely do. And maybe your non-negotiables is you don't consume 5 days a week. And you have to remember that there are only some things that you can do. Like, you know that, like, you know, the kids come to you and they either want, no, I just want mom, right? Now, of course, dad could do it too, but it's like, you have to remember that there's only so many things that you can only do. So you have to commit to doing those things. Whether it's time blocking once a week, I'm gonna make 3 short reels, because I gotta be in it. I gotta be in it. Then I can hand it off, and I can have somebody edit it, I can have somebody look at the hashtags, or maybe I do it myself, but I do it the next week, and you have to time block it. Because I understand what it's like to be in the rabbit hole of social media, and it's a lot. And I tell people, I'm very honest, like, it will take me a while to get back to your DMs, because I have to have a hard boundary. I get 1,000 DMs a day. I answer all of them, but not all on the same day. And I let people know it's from me. They usually get a voice message, and I'm like, I am so sorry it's taken me a week to get back to you. You know, with traveling and making sure that I have time boundaries for my family, I just wanted you to know that I got your message, and I'm so happy that, you know, we've connected, and thanks for coming to the event, right? And they're like, I'm shocked that you actually sent me a message. I'm like, no, it takes me a while. I'll never outsource that or automate it, because that matters. But you have to do the things that only you can do. The unscalables, right? Like, I can only be the one answering in the voice. I can be the only one making the content. And yeah, it's going to take you an hour at first, but it's just like anything else, right? It's like you get real quick with it, and you learn what you need to do. So you've got to time block. I mean, we do not want to spend hours on social media.
Do you prefer to do stories or reels?
I prefer stories because it's faster, it's less editing. I feel like it's me talking to a friend. I don't have to think about copy or anything like that, and I love it. And I love that it's private one-to-one communication, which generally have a much deeper human communication than something on like a reel or a public comment. You know, people aren't going to tell me they just got laid off in a public comment, probably, but they are going to tell me that when, you know, we're going through and talking to each other on the stories. So I personally love the stories. But if I want to grow and I'm only doing stories, only people that follow me will see that. So I do still, I don't put, it's not my number one, because I'm a firm believer, lean into what brings you joy, first and foremost. If it burns you out, if you're stressed out about it, if it's bad for your mental health, then don't make that the priority. And if people love making TikToks where they're dancing and doing trends, great. If it brings you joy, do it. And let's figure out when you're going to do the real estate tips too. So I double down on stories because I love it. It brings me joy. I don't care if people don't watch all my stories. I'm going to story my face off because I love it. And I feel like we all need a little bit of whatever that is. And I hate posting in the feed. I hate it. But every time I do it, I'm serving my customer. I'm helping. I'm educating. I have new people that find me, and they find me on their terms, And it's great. So I'm like, yeah, no, every time I complain that I have to make something and post it, and yep, here we go, it worked again.
Yeah.
Here we go, I just filled up my workshop because I made a post, that wasn't even selling it. So yeah, lean into what you love first, because then it won't feel like it's a job. And then know that you have to time lock some of the stuff you don't love. It's just like doing our receipts and expenses. I hate that day of the week. I'm like, I gotta do all of my admin stuff. Because like even if you have an assistant, you still gotta prepare it to give to the assistant. So it's a lot, but yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah?
So I have 2 Instagram accounts, my personal and my real estate one. Is that bad to have 2?
It's not bad. In fact, that's the way that it was taught for years and years, because that's how Facebook is. Facebook personal, Facebook business page. The business page is like tumbleweeds. Nothing's going on there. And that's not our fault. That's Facebook's fault. They ran out of room in the feed, and so they said, sorry, we're not going to show your business page stuff unless you want to pay for it. So then we all started saying, well, I'm not going to even bother with my business page. I'm going to really double down on my personal, because that's where I get the engagement. Same thing happens now with Instagram. Instagram's not going to make you pay for it, but what happened over the last 3, 4, 5 years is that people are like, there's so much content, like I don't want to see your just real estate stuff. It's only relevant to me for a very short amount of time, but I want to see the you stuff. I want to see what's happening in your life and your animals or your family or your funny things that happen. Like last week I got into some random person's car and thought it was my Uber and it was not. Yeah. So I mean, those are the stories that I share, and I'm like, are you even surprised? Like, have you seen my life? Like, this is how I roll. So those are things that people want to connect with, and what happens is people are like, I feel like I have twice the work. I've got this account over here, I gotta post something over there, it's gotta be real estate, and then you don't really enjoy it as much. So if you already have to, perfectly fine. I always tell people, if they're thinking about, should I set a separate one up, my answer is always no, because 2 accounts is twice the work, and invariably, if it's real estate and human, the human one is always gonna be more fun and have more engagement.
So do you think you should use your name, or should you use like, we're homes by the Sokologers, and I was Shelley Sokologers.
Gosh, it
And
sounds like we need an Instagram class. Maybe that's what we talk about. Yeah.
That changed over the years.
You have to remember that there's 2 groups of people looking for you. The small group of people who are looking for you by name, and we really need them to find you if they're looking for you by name. If I can't find you, you've got 1 second. If I can't find you, you're not in the top 3, moving on, not going to Google. So if you don't have your first and last names in that account in very specific areas, I'm not finding you. And people now are probably looking for you by name more so than your team name, to be very honest. So you have to think, what is your most powerful thing? It's your personal brand. So the other group of people who have no idea who you are, they don't know they're looking for you. You want as many chances to get found by them too. So you definitely have to have your personal brand or name in it so that I can find you if somebody refers me. But if I have no idea that I'm even looking for you, then you also want some other keywords to draw people in, to it as well. But if it's like Jeep Lover 88, I'm never finding you if I put it right. Like I'm like, what's their name? Oh, I only see these random ones here. So yeah, it's important to have your names. I know it's hard when it's a 2-person account, because if you have a first name and a last name, you have that twice. That takes up character space, and yeah, I did that.
I think you hinted at it, but what's the best way to get your content to people who don't follow you?
The best way to get your content to people that don't follow you is to use Instagram or TikTok, because Facebook is a closed loop system. Think about it, it's just people that you've already accepted and their friends. And you cap out at 5,000, which is a lot. But you're just constantly circulating through the same people, which has its own benefits. But if you want to get found and discovered by new people, you've got to go to a discovery platform. In fact, Facebook's having a tough time right now because people are leaving to go to Instagram and TikTok because they're getting discovered by new people. So now Facebook's trying to bring Reels into the mix, and people just aren't getting it on Facebook because it's just like, well, what am I going to do? I have a bunch of people that see my Reel and then connect with me, want to be my friend, and I don't know them. So Instagram, you're going to use hashtags to get found by the right people. You have to be really smart about what hashtags you're using to attract the right people. And Reels, because Reels is getting pushed out to people that don't know you in a variety of ways. On TikTok, it's primarily people that don't know you. That's why when you open it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is just all new stuff. I don't know who these people are. And yeah, you can follow people, but how many of you actually click on following? We always open it up and it's the For You page, so it's just people that we don't know, which is why people go viral, which is also why there's more trolls there. It's all a big thing. So not to say one is better than the other, but the strategy is a little bit different on a TikTok and an Instagram than a Facebook, because Facebook you're kind of lead nurturing in the CRM and you're not going to really have growth or get found by new people. And then Instagram and TikTok really will push that out for you because of their
What
products.
software do you use to edit your TikToks and Reels?
I really try to do all of it in the phone. I do use an app called Video Shop, and if you love an app and you're used to using it and you're not used to using TikTok or Reels, use the app. Don't let that stop you. But I try to only use the app itself, like Instagram or TikTok, because I want to take away as many excuses not to do it as possible. Like, you don't need a ring light, you don't need this, like, you just need your phone and that's it. But I like Video Shop, and I always tell people, if you're comfortable with something and something new comes out like TikTok and you're like, whoa, this is a lot of stuff to learn, don't waste your time learning it before you make. Make over here and whatever you're used to, upload it into it, and then maybe play with it over time to learn it. But I really try to lean on what's actually there. Yes.
Do you have like a formula for like this many reels a week, this many whatever a week that you like recommend?
I have tried all of the things because I started Reels when they came out, and I got to work directly with Instagram on the, like rolling out that Reels product and like you kind of seeing what they were doing with it. And absolutely, the more you pump out, the more possibility you have for reach and to be seen. The more I pumped out, the more stressed I got. So it really is a personal decision. I post 1 reel a week, and I've been doing that for 2 years. And really what Instagram is looking at is your consistency. It's ranking you against you. If I post 5 times a day and I do it for 5 years, and you post 1 time a day or 1 time a week and you do it for 5 years, they're not punishing you because you're not on my schedule. Mm-hmm. They're looking at, are you all over the place? So as long as you're staying consistent with whatever you're doing, it needs to be consistent, it needs to be sustainable for your lifestyle. Like, I know we get excited and we're like, I'm gonna do 3 reels a week. Okay, well, can you do that for 3 years? Maybe not. So start small and then you can build up to it. But if you're reading the blogs and you're listening to Instagram, which I mean, it is Instagram, yeah, they're saying like 3 to 5 times a week. And that's on top of your posting schedule that you're not posting reels. I'm like, who is doing this? Like people with a team, maybe. So I've been super successful and had awesome growth posting consistently 1 time a week, twice a week, and being in my stories and talking to people. So you don't have to follow that cadence. You need to find one that's right for you, that you're like, I can do this forever. Did you?
What about like filming a bunch of content one day?
Yeah.
Breaking it up and then just posting it throughout the
I love that.
Change outfit a few times.
Or not. I mean, who cares, right? Keep that outfit on and just keep going. Maybe somebody will say something and be like, are you in the same outfit all? Yeah, absolutely. Light up my algorithm, drop me some comments, make your thing, right? So yeah, I mean, batch creating, as somebody who does not batch create for years and years and years, and I've been trying to force myself because I got a productivity systems coach and all of that, and I'm really trying. My brain doesn't work that way. I get creative when I'm out running, in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. So it's hard for me to sit down and do that. But in forcing myself to do that and not posting even some of the content, but getting onto that routine, it really has helped me. And I actually now am more creative because I have been on that schedule, but it was really hard for me at the beginning. But I was on the fly for 5 years and worked out great for me. But other people are horrified when I tell them that. And they're like, oh my God, I plan out like a month of content. I'm like, that sounds amazing. I wish I could do that. But yeah, ultimately, it's great when I have drafts saved and I'm like, and I'm ready to post. Yeah, so I do recommend that. Yeah, but it's okay if you can't do that either, because I didn't do that for a long time. Well, thanks guys for having me. I so appreciate it. One of many of the books. So bring all your questions next time. We'll dive into it more. Maybe we'll pick one platform like Instagram and go deep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's so fun to see. Okay.
culture